Stuart was fed the same promise we've all heard. Study hard, get good grades, and one day, the world will open its doors for you. It sounded mathematical. If A effort plus B degree, then C prosperity. It was a guarantee signed by society. If you follow the steps, you win. But no one warned him that blind effort is merely the fuel that burns out the engine of a system that no longer needs drivers, but replaceable parts. The commandment at 18, Stuart finished school. That day, the air felt like the beginning of an epic. Standing in the courtyard, he felt invincible, ready to build an empire. His father, a man with hands hardened by routine and eyes tired of waiting for a miracle, looked at him with a certainty that was almost religious. It wasn't advice, it was a commandment. He pointed toward the city skyscrapers and said 3 words that would seal Stuart's fate. Go to university. A transfer of obsolete faith. There was no debate about his talents or the labor market. It was a transfer of obsolete faith. Stuart's father genuinely believed he was handing him the keys to the kingdom, and Stuart followed because he never had a reason to doubt. His parents, teachers, and television commercials all sang the same melody. The degree is the shield. Without it, you are naked. With it, you are untouchable. A degree equals a good job, and a good job equals a good life. It was a rule everyone accepted, without checking if the bridge still had pillars on the other side. The sacrifice of youth years passed inside those concrete walls. Stuart sacrificed his best years. While others explored the world or learned trades, Stuart was locked away, memorizing theories written when the internet was still a fever dream. The fear of failing wasn't about knowledge but about disappointing the system. Every exam defined his worth. If he got an A, he was a successful rat. If he got a C, he was a failure. He missed birthdays and family moments, all for the promise that, at the end of the tunnel, there would be a reward proportional to his pain. The golden ticket after years of monastic discipline, the day arrived. Stuart stood on the stage holding his diploma. To him, it wasn't paper. It was a golden ticket, irrefutable proof that the sweat and anxiety had been worth it. His family cried with joy. His father puffed out his chest, feeling he had fulfilled his mission. In that moment, Stuart was the hero. He had done everything right now, he thought. The world owes me my prize. A cold reality check. Stuart stepped into the real world expecting red carpets, but reality is cold and often cruel. Stuart got a job. At first, it felt like a win, but when the first paycheck arrived, a chill ran down his spine. The pay was low, an insult to his years of study. It wasn't a salary to grow on or to build a home. It was a survival wage. The cubicle cell. He realized he was trapped in a cell of cubicle walls. He worked long hours, performing mechanical tasks that an algorithm could do better. He waited with a patience that was beginning to rot. Maybe in 6 months, he told himself, but months turned into years. His income barely moved while the cost of living rose without rest. The future he had imagined was moving away faster than he could run. Stuart wasn't building a life. He was maintaining a subsistence infrastructure. The shared failure. He lived with 4 other rats in the same situation. All with degrees, all with ironed white shirts, all following the script. They looked at each other in the shared kitchen in silence, sharing the same quiet failure. They had all trusted, they had all obeyed, and they all ended up in the same emotional basement. The broken equation. That's when something inside Stuart broke. An uncomfortable whisper became a scream. More education does not mean more money. That phrase crashed against everything he had been taught. To understand the problem, Stuart looked back at 1970. Back then, the rules were different. Only 1 in 10 rats went to university. A graduate was a rare, scarce specimen. The poison of abundance in economics. Scarcity dictates price. Companies needed trained minds for leadership, and because there were so few, the market competed for them. A degree in 1970 was a guarantee because it was a scarce asset. But the success of that generation was the poison of the next. Parents, seeing that the degree worked, told all their children to do the same. The system realized it could get rich selling the promise of success. More universities were built, more loans funded, and the number of graduates exploded. Credential inflation. The world is different in Stuart's modern street. 6 out of 10 rats have a degree. It's no longer special. It's the minimum requirement just to get in and mop the floor. Every year, the job market receives a growing tide of identical rat profiles, all asking for the same piece of cheese that the system no longer produces. This created credential inflation. Because there is an oversupply, the owner of the big company lowers the salary. To filter the crowd, he asks for more. Now I need a master's. Now I need 3 languages. Now I need experience for an entry-level position. The debt-trapped Stuart was forced to run faster just to stay in the same place. While his father's generation started accumulating wealth at 22, Stuart barely started at 28, and he started from negative. Higher education became a financial business. To pay for the degree that promised to save him, Stuart had to borrow money. Now, in his 30s, he is still dragging an iron chain. The system fed on his youth and now feeds on his labor. It's a perfect trap. The system didn't want Stuart to succeed. The system wanted Stuart to be enrolled. The value revolution in the darkness, Stuart noticed something. Other rats were doing something different. They weren't the ones with the brightest degrees, but the ones with the most useful skills. They hadn't waited 5 years to learn obsolete theory. They learned the tools of today: programming, AI, system building, and sales. They weren't looking for an institution's approval. They were looking to solve real problems for real people. Skill over theory, Stuart understood that the market does not reward effort. It rewards value. The market doesn't care how many nights you spent studying history. It cares if you can help a company earn more today. Stuart realized he had been a blind follower in a world that only rewards those who see. He stopped chasing the diploma and started chasing the skill. His education was his responsibility, not the responsibility of a university that only wanted his tuition. The illusion of security today, Stuart looks back. He is no longer walking in circles. He understands that no system or university is designed to guarantee his success. Those institutions are designed to maintain themselves. Security is an illusion sold at a high price. The only real security is your ability to adapt and be valuable in a world that changes every 6 months. The most repeated path is usually the most crowded, and therefore, the one with the least cheese to share. Wake up! Your real success doesn't come from the degrees you hang on the wall, but from the problems you are able to solve with your hands and your mind. It comes from understanding that learning never ends, but school must end for true education to begin. If you are listening to this and you feel like Stuart, if you feel like you did everything right but the world feels wrong, remember this: the rules changed. Stop looking for the golden ticket in a piece of paper. Start building your own value, because in the streets of the real world, those who understand value will always invariably find more cheese. The question is not what degree you have, but what you know how to do that the world cannot ignore. Wake up. The system already had its chance. Now it's your turn.